I'll be perfectly honest, I don't trust NFTs. Not in their current form, anyway. OpenSea, the largest NFT platform in the world, has lost 99% of its trading volume in 90 days. 99%. Earlier this year, one of the most famous NFTs in the world, Jack Dorsey's first tweet, expected a resale price of $50 million. It was originally purchased for $2.9 million. Its highest bid was slightly less than the desired $50 million. It fetched a few $1,000s. The owner ultimately withdrew the offer to sell, disgraced and humiliated. While I do believe in NFT technology long term, I think there's considerable evidence that an NFT bubble is formed. My next guest, Roshni Cox, will help us shed some light on the current state of the NFT market. Roshni, welcome to the Daily Drop.
Hi, Bobby. How are you?
I'm great, but I don't know if we can say the same thing about the NFT market. But let's start at the beginning, okay? So how did the NFT market get so popular?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on, Bobby. I think there's a number of reasons where the NFT market, we saw tremendous growth last year. I'd say the financial markets were reeling, and crypto sort of found its way in pop culture, and we started to see a ton of retailers across the world pay attention to it. I think, when you think about collectibles, which all of us have engaged in collectibles our whole life, sports collectibles, memorabilia, it's really this digitalizing of those collectibles, which is what the NFTs are.
Look, I think that's a pretty good overview, right? So the NFT market really did explode during the pandemic. And I mean, nobody exploded more than the Bored Apes franchise. They really came out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And now they're everywhere. Although they really have lost, 75% of their value, even the sort of like lauded Bored Apes. Are the Bored Apes sustainable? Is that franchise sustainable?
I mean, I think that's entirely up to the community. I mean, the community is really the ones that can determine the value. And if they still see value, then I think they're going to hold their high prices. But I do think that we're just fundamentally shifting away from just digital collectibles in general and into more of utility. And so I think what you are even seeing with the Bored Apes is they started as just JPEG static images at very high prices, but they're starting to infiltrate into music and to, brick and mortar restaurants. And I think that's what we're going to see with new projects as blockchain technology allows for that.
And that's a perfect segue to my next question, right? Because speaking of utility, do you think that the NFT market pivoted to utility? Because that's everybody's talking about utility. That wasn't the conversation at the beginning. It is now. But do you think that happened once people started really paying attention to the NFT market?
Well, I do think that, the early phases of NFT sales was really just focused around price speculation. So it was just, a lot of hype. People were jumping in, buying, selling. Whereas, I think to be able to hit the mainstream market, you need more than just price. You need to be able to feel a tangible benefit, a tangible value. And so I think that, as utility, you're seeing use cases of utility is going to help with that more mainstream adoption.
And we're going to get into the latest reports about trading volume and Jack Dorsey and all this stuff. But do you think that there was a sort of seminal moment when the NFT market pivoted? There was an inflection point where people were like, because NFTs at some point were like, oh my God, NFTs, everything's coming up NFT. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of turned into like, yeah, but what are they really?
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, for the last year, you've seen this rise in NFTs. And, early on, you had sort of the early adopters jumping in. I think the NBA did a good job by jumping in with Dapper Labs, and they helped, bring some, mainstream conversation around NFTs, some of these other projects like CryptoPunks, Bored Apes. And I think that, again, just like any technology is evolving. And so, there's going to be the early adopters that jump in and, are causing some of the conversation, and then it pauses and it has to grow and it has to educate the mainstream population. And I think that's where we are. We're at that inflection phase now of just education and just making people understand and helping them understand that it's really just a digitalizing of collectibles that we're all used to. It's just that you now have to have a wallet and you have to buy, a specific currency. So again, it goes back to us who are in Web3 to educate the market.
Look, I think that is a brilliant analysis. We're going to get into it after the break, but trading volumes are down 99%, and this is something that we definitely need to talk about. And we're gonna talk about it when we get back from break on the Daily Drop.
Awesome.
I'm here with Roshni Cox. Okay, so reportedly 99% of OpenSea's trading volume has evaporated in the last 90 days. I'm just going to say it. Is this evidence of a bubble?
I don't think so. I do think that we're evolving. Again, the early phase of NFTs was really focused on price and hype. And I think, again, people were jumping in to potentially make money. There wasn't this longer term benefit. And what you're seeing now is this evolution. And as blockchain technology evolves and more projects take advantage of that, you're seeing more of long-term strategies. For example, today we saw that Ticketmaster is now partnering with Dapper Labs to offer NFTs. So, as more industries start to get on board and see the tangible benefits of unlocking NFTs, I think we're going to start to see that shift in the market.
Look, I definitely agree with you in terms of the way NFTs are going to evolve. But right now, the way that people have bought a lot of these Bored Apes, they've bought a lot of CryptoPunks, they bought a lot of many collections we haven't even heard of, and they're having a lot of difficulty selling them. Right, and they were promised, flip them, you make this, and you make millions, and all this stuff. Look at the Jack Dorsey situation. Okay, like the Jack Dorsey NFT resale failure seems to indicate that NFT resale value, at least for this collectible contingent, is limited or non-existent. Do you think that's a fair statement?
I mean, I think that the Jack Dorsey specific example, it's just one example, and when it first went on the market at 2.9 million, no one had ever seen anything like that. So I'm not even sure that anyone knew how to react to it. So I see that as just an example. I don't think that that's an indicator that the resale market is failing or is going to go away. I think it goes back to what more is there behind that static JPEG. And again, some of these early projects started with just, creativity and with, the actual collectible. But I think, again, more people want to see more than just that specific digital asset. They want to unlock experiences. They want to be able to do meet and greets. It needs to be more of a tangible benefit. And so, again, I think that that was a great example. It obviously created a lot of conversation, but I don't think that that is a clear indicator that the resale market is going to go away or be limited.
Okay, well, here's a question actually that I just came up with based on what you said, right? So if people are really just buying the NFTs to get the utility, to get the community benefits, right, to get, the sort of add-ons, why do they need the NFT at all?
Well, the NFT is really just the transaction. Like if you think about any other transaction, you're purchasing something and then you're unlocking that value. And so the NFT again is just that transaction. You have a wallet, which is your account. You're purchasing, minting that NFT, and then you're holding that actual asset in your wallet. So I think again, it's a transaction. It's an entry into whatever experience that you're looking for.
So it's essentially a membership card that isn't really worth anything except for the benefits of having the membership.
Well, it is a membership card, and it is, communities that you're buying into with, say, like interest. So if you are interested in sports, there's NFT communities for that. If you're interested in, philanthropic work, there's NFT communities for that. So, I thought about this over the last, I'd say, 2 years, and I really feel like the pandemic sort of, exploded this need for communities. As people were sitting at home and they were just, they didn't know what to do with their time. And I think with the entrance of NFTs and this community driven sort of model, it allowed people to connect with, people with like-minded interests. So again, the NFT is that membership into the community of people that you have similar interests, but then also unlocks that that value and tangible asset.
Yeah, look, I think that's bang on. And look, I want to be fair. I mean, most of the Web3 ecosystem has lost 75, 80% of its value this year. But I guess my question is the 99% reduction in NFT trading volume, is that merely in line with the bear market stats, or does that indicate something much more serious?
It's hard to sort of speculate exactly because there's so much fluctuation, but I just, continue to believe that we're just in a fluctuation. We're in a growth point. Again, there's the initial, which was focused on price, and now there's utility. So there's going to be inherent sort of just speculation on what's going to happen, but I do think that it's there. It's not an indicator that it's going away.
I mean, Roshni, this is a great conversation. And look, I also think we're at the beginning of what NFTs are going to be. And perhaps it's even too soon to analyze this or that. But I will say 99% trading volume, it does spook me a little bit. Are you, like, we only have 20 seconds, but yes or no? Like, are you concerned at all by that stat, or that's just the economics right now?
I mean, it is to me the economics right now, and it doesn't spook me at all. I mean, the
Okay,
company that I'm with right now.
that's great. That's pretty clear. Okay, you know what? Let's go to break, and we'll be back with more with Roshni Cox. Welcome back to the Daily Drop. We've been having a great conversation with Roshni Cox here about NFTs. I do want to talk a little bit about this trading volume issue, because long term, I agree with you. Like, I don't think there's issues with the NFT space moving forward. Technology is brilliant. We're going to use it as a membership card. It's gonna sort of trigger lots and lots of benefits across the ecosystem. But right now, let's look at Ben Dow, for example. They're having liquidity issues because of the falling prices of NFTs, right? These loans based on the NFTs as collateral. So I guess my question is, how much does the falling NFT value affect the broader ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it has a resounding effect. I mean, it does impact all of us in the ecosystem, but I also think that this is where, we're going to weed out basically the projects that are just in it for short term and that just are looking to flip versus, a lot of us that are in it for the long term, building strategies, in industries that really are going to benefit from NFTs.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. But okay, so let's just play a little bit of analysis with me here in terms of, maybe it's doom and gloom, but let's say this sort of the speculative part of NFTs, because I think we can differentiate between the sort of speculative NFT asset class and the sort of utility-based NFT asset class, right? But if the speculative NFT-based asset class, if that market collapses, and again, we're talking 99% in 3 months, okay? This is the reduction in trading volumes. If this does collapse entirely, what are the consequences of that?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, I do think that there is an impact to all the projects, obviously with this 99% reduction. But I am optimistic, and I am starting to see some of that resale volume start to tick back up a little bit again as projects are innovating. And when you think about, again, from the very beginning, projects were very focused on just digital assets. We're now looking around and listening and seeing how projects are actually innovating. And so I do think that, right now, sure, it feels like this kind of lull moment, but I do think that, towards the end of the year, next year, you're going to start to see an explosion of utility.
I'm going to make another point too, right? To be fair, because I always try and be balanced, right? I really want to understand like what is happening. Also, I mean, OpenSea, yes, they're the biggest, but there have been a lot of new NFT exchanges, platforms in the last 6 months. Do you think partly the trading volumes are reduced on OpenSea because there's so many more competitors now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's spot on. You're seeing a ton of other marketplaces evolve. And again, OpenSea was the pioneer. They started, everybody was on OpenSea, but again, they're looking to see what fits, specifically for their project. So when you think about Solano and some of these other marketplaces, you're actually just seeing sort of a shift in that resale volume to just other marketplaces. So again, you may look at this 99%, but that's just specific to OpenSea. We need to look at sort of the increases that are happening on the other marketplaces, and I think that it's going to actually balance out.
Yeah, and look, I'm just looking at everything. I'm trying to understand what's going on, as we all are, right? And I guess that leads us into my next question. Right? Do you think that the Web3 ecosystem right now is in an experimental phase?
I think it's more of a growth phase. This is a very young generation that's helping to develop the blockchain technology. They're innovating. They have great ideas. So I don't think it's experimental. I think it's just growth. It's ideas that are coming to life. And we're seeing that every day. Again, as I mentioned with Ticketmaster, and you think about just all these different industries that are starting to look at NFTs as a way to reach, an incremental new audience that they don't currently have. And, that's what I think is really going to help as you see the Web3 technology evolve.
Yeah, and look, I think we're all curious to see what's going to happen, especially now because, I mean, you look at the macroeconomic conditions. It looks like it's not going to get any better, certainly in the next 6 months. It seems like people are kind of taking advantage of the time now to be like, okay, well, what can we build?
That's exactly it. It's a building phase. We ourselves, we've built a new NFT driven sports prediction game. The last couple of months, we were in pure building phase. Again, because the market was, a little bit into a downturn, and we knew that people were just taking a pause. And so again, I think you're going to see this explosion over the next couple of months where these projects sort of paused, really thought about their long-term strategy, really sort of evaluated, what gaps can they fill, and then we're going to see these products come to life.
We only have about 30 seconds left, and obviously we don't know, but how long do you think this crypto winter lasts? Another 6 months, 9 months, a year?
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I am seeing sparks of positivity. Again, I'm seeing people back on Twitter. I'm seeing people back in their Discords talking, innovating. Great ideas are out there. I do think the fall is really going to be a good indicator of what have people been doing over the last 6 months, and what are we seeing come to life. I see a ton of positivity.
Let's get more into that after the break. Welcome back to the Daily Drop. I'm here with Roshni Cox. We're having a very good conversation about NFTs, very honest conversation too, which is good. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about NFTs long term. I'm sure that you're a believer, but what do you think we're going to see long term?
I think we're going to see industries really starting to push into NFTs. We've mentioned, we've got the ticketing industry, you've got music, you have entertainment. We're seeing pop culture starting to explode with NFTs. So I really do believe in the long term. Again, we have a long-term strategy at Hellebore Broadcasting Company to create an experience that unlocks, for all of our holders. But, when I see headlines and I see, say, sports leagues getting involved, and I see, artists, musicians getting involved, to me, that's an indicator that this is here to stay.
So what do you think the future is for the NFT market? Like, is this going to just 10x, 30x, and like everyone in the world is going to need NFTs to kind of like access, I don't know, everything in their day-to-day lives? Is that what the future is?
I mean, it's possible. It's $1 billion market. Again, NFTs are just a portal to give you an experience that you are looking for. I think just like the internet, the early days, there was that speculation and there was that sort of trepidation. And I think we're at that point. We just need to be able to educate people and make sure that they understand what are they unlocking. But I do think that NFTs are going to infiltrate into every major industry.
Okay, so look, without giving investment advice, there's investors who are concerned about bubbles popping. They're concerned that the Web3 ecosystem is down 80%. They're concerned about crypto. What would you tell investors about how they can best protect themselves from the volatility of the NFT market?
I mean, I think investing in general is inherent risk, right? I mean, everyone has to look at their own personal appetite as to what they want to invest in. But I think what you could feel good about is if you would invest in blockchain technology. If there are projects that are focused on innovation and building, that is probably where you're going to see most investments. But when you're just going to be focused on price and you're just going to be focused on flipping, then there isn't as much of a long-term strategy.
Okay, so like, what are you doing specifically, like with your company, or what do you think in terms of other industries where NFTs are going to be like a big part of our ecosystem?
Yeah, so we have developed the first NFT-driven sports prediction game. It's a pick'em style game. We're really at the intersection of sports betting, fantasy sports, and NFTs. And what we see is by unlocking an NFT, you're able to play fantasy sports, but in a digitized, new environment. Again, when I think about all the different industries, sports is one that continues to grow, continues to look for new ways to innovate and, bring new audiences together. And that's what we were super excited about.
Look, we only have about 90 seconds. Thank you for coming. Like, you're awesome. Like, please come back. One thing you may not know about me, I actually used to be a fantasy basketball writer. So I was actually
Awesome.
I was in the Yahoo Friends and Family League, right? Like the Experts League. I finished second place in the world. So how would that work? Like
Wow.
how would the NFT, how would like having an NFT, how would the NFT space help you play fantasy sports?
Yeah, so what we have designed is, you're going to mint an NFT that's going to give you the ability to make picks. And these are just pick 'em style picks. Is team A going to win against team B? It's not fantasy based where you're actually picking or drafting players. But what we are excited about is, this NFT is going to unlock the ability for you to pick and then be a part of leagues. So fantasy style leagues. We're going to be launching next week with football, soccer, and baseball. And then we're going to continue to add sports. So, our vision is we want to keep it very light touch, let people come in, mint an NFT, make their picks, and then potentially, get into prize pools similar to fantasy leagues.
I mean, I'm gonna try that. That was awesome.
Right.
Roshni, thank you for coming. I really appreciate you coming today.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. This was a great conversation.
Yeah, I'll see you again. So Roshni Cox was awesome. I guess the question I have is, how do you know what's really happening when we get so much of our information from people who are really invested in selling NFTs? And again, you don't know. I think people are being honest, but people are also being optimistic, I think. And while I suspect a significant NFT bubble is formed, it's admittedly hard to analyze. The reality is most of the Web3 ecosystem has plummeted during this bear market. So it's hard to know exactly what the long-term trends are. With that said, NFT technology is brilliant and it's here to stay. So the question is, how are NFTs going to change as the space evolves? See you next time.